Rams.
Yep. Win, lose, or draw, doesn't matter what hour. We're on live for the Miami Dolphins post-game show here on FTSN. Here at Thanksgiving, we are about, well, at least on Eastern time, 9 minutes away from Thanksgiving being over. It's still only 10:51 for me, but I'm joined. Me and Evan are joined by our bigger cast today, an all-star cast, really. We got Greg of Overtime here with us. We got Dahl of Dahl's Diaries in the house, and Dave Stager of the Checkdown, our resident Packers fan.
Go, Pack, go.
In the house as well. Obviously, Dolphins lose on Thursday Night Football to end the night. They lose 30-17. Dolphins freeze up in Green Bay. No narratives were killed today, by the way. Thanks to and company. But yeah, we're here. Dolphins are now 5-7 on the season, and try to make our way of this. Obviously, as you can see, we have a bigger panel, so we're going to kind of keep this rolling here. And as we go on, before we go on with the game itself, let me get ahead and we're going to move on. We're going to get Greg in here. Greg, man, how are you? And besides the Dolphins game, how the hell are you, sir? How was your Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was good. Very good. A lot of good food. A lot of good company today. And I got to watch a lot of bad football. So, hey, we got that going on.
So true. Chicago and Detroit was just, the hell?
Yeah, it was.
I laughed.
Yeah, it was not good. And then we got to watch two backup quarterbacks in New York and Dallas who couldn't move the ball for like 10 minutes. All right, so nothing but buns. And then we got the Dolphins who basically just decided not to show up in the first half. I mean, it's unbelievable. All right, you look at the stats at the end of the game. Tua, 365 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 7.9 yards per pass, 114 rating, and really didn't do a whole hell of a lot. That's why stats are a little bit, misleading. 37 or 46, right? But he didn't do anything until they were down 24 points. I mean, we talked on a pregame show. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. All right. Special teams got to be on par. All right. Give up a big kickoff return to open the game, and then we fumble the opening punt, down 7 points. I mean, it just missed tackles. They had 10 penalties today. All right. That weren't forced. It just, every time you think they want to, or they say they're going to change the narrative, they basically just fall right back into what they've always done. And it's just disappointing. I shouldn't be shocked anymore, but I am. By just how, people say they don't have any heart, they're not tough, they don't play physical. I just want them to play smart. I mean, today was just dumb. All right, the game plan in the first half was dumb. They commit penalties all over the place. I don't know.
You're right on. And I will say, Tati just brought it up, but my gosh, first off, I just want to bring up, and we're going to get Courtney in here and get how her day's been and everything else. But I just want to say, yeah, that opening, first off, the defensive stop by Miami was like, oh my gosh, it was like fake confidence. We're good. And then the fumble by Malik, just dagger in the heart to start it off early. First of all, Dahl of Dahl's Diaries in the house. Courtney, how has your Thanksgiving been? How are you?
Good. It was chill. My family's actually celebrating Thanksgiving tomorrow.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
So really, we didn't do much. We watched football and hung out. Do you want me to go into the game?
Absolutely. No, just get into your reaction to the game.
The Dolphins are exactly who everybody thinks that they are. Everybody who was calling for a playoff push, I've been silently judging you for being, on drugs. The Dolphins, they need to blow it up. I'm sorry. It's a hot mess rolled into a hot mess. When you couldn't win 4 games, like 1 of 4 games with a backup quarterback, that's a poor coaching reflection. That you were not prepared with a backup quarterback at an NFL caliber game. Your special teams, Danny Crossman has been terrible, I don't know, since birth. And Chris Greer finding Malik Washington. I'm sorry, we had high hopes for him. I don't care if he was a 6th round draft pick. He played horrendous out there. OBJ, congratulations. You caught your first ball all season? Defense, what defense? They are still opposite of Jalen Ramsey. You guys still haven't filled Xavier Howard's spot. I don't care. Say what you want. Cam Smith, Kader Kohu, Storm Rain Duck, them combined are not the declining talent that Xavier Howard was last year. And the fact that every team knows it, if you notice, they're not throwing to Ramsey. Very rarely are they targeting Ramsey. They are on all the rookies. And the rookies, what was it? Hold on. 20 missed tackles for 132 yards. Deshaun Elliott was right. You're a bunch of soft pansies playing on that defense. Chop Robinson, where the fuck were you? I didn't see you. I mean, I saw you get held a few times, but Calais Campbell maybe made like 1 or 2 plays. Zach Steeler, I really only heard his name maybe once, twice. Then the offensive line. I mean, Tua couldn't do anything. We couldn't get a run game going, but we're not worried about the offensive line. Only the fans are. The team is a joke. And if Ross doesn't turn around and make some big changes and fire at the very least, Greer and Crossman, McDaniel, I'm looking at you. I think that they should just clean house. Focus. Everybody is so worried about playoffs and what are the Colts and the Broncos going to do? Why don't we worry about our own fucking team and what are we going to do in the draft? Because that's what's going to happen. We're going to need to draft some talent. And guess what? We don't have the coaching or the staff to actually draft talent right now. Why don't we worry about getting a good draft position and fix the problems? Because Deshaun Elliott's out there sipping tea, making plays for the Steelers, and our team's too busy posting the Snapchats about it. I'm sorry, but play like a bunch of grown-ass overpaid millionaires that you're supposed to be, and then stop crying when people are criticizing you. Back up your talk with your play, but guess what the Dolphins are doing? Not backing up the talk with their play. And I'm just tired of it, frankly. And frankly, I'm happy I'm a little numb inside.
Damn.
I'm sober. This is water.
There you go. Doll's in the house. Back in pregame, of course, we're gonna hear it before we get to the main. It's not really the main event because it's not gonna end with Fitzstanza, but we know he's gonna come in with the 1-2. We should have made Courtney main event that portion of it. But before we get to that, let's get to our resident Packers fan and someone who could give another perspective of it and maybe gloat a little. Get it? But Dave, man, first off, how was your Thanksgiving, and then your thoughts over on this football game, man?
Thanksgiving was really good, man. The food was good. I had plates of freaking turkey, ham. I mean, my dad offered to cook and do it at his house this year. So, of course, my wife was like, yes, please. Now my kitchen won't be fucking dirty. So, yeah, she was happy. We went down and to my dad's couple houses down and ate up a bunch of food. But no. So, first game, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Detroit, Chicago. I'm like, oh my God, Chicago might win this game. And then what does Chicago do? They load the gun, shoot themselves in the foot, load the gun again, shoot themselves in the other foot, load the gun again, and shoot themselves in the head. I don't understand. One, the head coach should have been looking at that clock 100% of the time. The QB is, even though he's a rookie, he should still be cognizant. Okay, the time clock, the game clock. That's something that's always on the QB's mind. That was just a crapshoot. He should be fired for Eberflus as the head coach. I think he should be gone. Second game, yeah, a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Greg kind of nailed that on the head. It was, Drew Lock proved why Drew Lock is a backup, and Cooper Rush is, like it's just nothing. It's kind of the time to take a nap. He'll let the tryptophan hit you and just go to bed. But I will say this. And Bobby and I did a preview on Tuesday of the game. And I tried to be unbiased as I could. And Bobby knows that pretty well about me, where I try to look at it from both sides. The worst thing I said Miami could do is get behind early. And right away, that fumbled punt return, it just made them try and play catch up the entire game. And then when they tried to come out that second drive after, they just killed them. Like when they got down 14-0, they got in that mindset where they have to catch up. Instead of just playing their game, McDaniel is bad about that. He likes to try and play catch up. And that's, to me, is the biggest reason. Miami is a front runner team where they lead. They play better that way. When they get behind, it's not good. They rarely come back and have miraculous wins like that. Like when I was in there watching the last couple minutes. They were just doing little dink and dunk plays. There was no big chunk plays, and Green Bay was forcing them to do the chunk play or the little chunk plays because they knew they couldn't go over the top. So I am going to say the narrative of playing in the cold, not just for Tua, but the guys like Malik. Dahl just nailed it with Malik Washington. You can tell he's never played in like a cold environment up in Green Bay, because when you're supposed to catch a ball as a punt returner, the weight of the ball gets more dense inside. So it becomes heavier. So hence why he fumbled the ball. He wasn't used to that. And that's on McDaniel for not getting them up to Green Bay sooner, practicing in that environment. So then that way he can go ahead and get his players used to this type of weather, used to type of stuff. So I'm going to say it. I have respect for McDaniel, but he shit his pants here big time and not preparing his players to be taken care of. Now, I will say this. Jalen Ramsey was thrown on tonight. There was 4 catches, and he got juked out of his shoes on one of them. Yeah, I don't have any hope as long as Chris Greer is GM for the Dolphins. Mike McDaniel's on the hot seat now after tonight's game. That was really bad.
All right, let's move on. He's been quiet.
He's muted. That's why he's quiet.
Well, he's not physically quiet. Well, maybe it's because he's muted. All right, Evan.
Yeah.
You didn't have Thanksgiving today. You had it a month ago, so I'm not going to ask you how your Thanksgiving was. So let's just get into it, my man. You're hearing what everyone is saying. You saw the game. I mean, my goodness. I'll just say it like this, dude. Again, that first defensive drive, you go, okay. Defense looks like saying we got to wait on the offense. Dolphins get the ball. The first punt, it's muffed. It's a fumble, red zone. And that for me, just it just totally killed any kind of real momentum that was going to go down in this game. From that on, momentum was lost, and Miami was lost throughout the game. You're watching this game. You're seeing what's going down. Obviously, you're making your little checklist of what you were saying and all this whatnot. But seriously, you're watching this game.
He's got a grocery store receipt. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you're watching this game. No, seriously, watching this game. When you're watching this, what's to you is the biggest issues where you're going, what the is going on? Like what happened to Miami?
I'm going to be calm, but I just want us to take a step back. Bobby, were you there on post game with me? Were we there on post game together on Sunday? What did Staker just say? What was the one thing I said about what they need to do in Green Bay?
Coming up early.
They should leave. They should leave on Tuesday morning or Monday night, be there for 2 days, practice, do your walkthroughs in the cold. I don't think the cold was a determining factor for the over course of the game, but for Malik
changes the ball.
It changes the ball. But Stager, go watch the tape. I said this exact thing you
I
just
believe
said.
you.
You and I are not rehearsing this. You and I said this exact thing. The moment I knew the game was over, and I'm not kidding. You can ask my kids' Scouts honor. My kids don't lie. The moment the ball left Jason Sanders' foot and did not touch back, and they gained 45 yards and started off at midfield, I go, game's over. This team, the fact that Jason Sanders on the first kickoff couldn't get it into the end zone, and the fact that they allowed Danny Crossman allowed his beautiful defense, the special teams, to allow them to start at midfield, we were already behind the 8 ball. Now, the defense did the job, but it just told me right away, like, they're not ready. Like, you're giving them easy field position. Instead of starting to get to 30, you're giving them this open space to potentially get great yards, considering the fact that our team can't tackle to begin with. I knew right away. The moment Malik Washington, I literally just started laughing, and everyone thought something was wrong with me, because I go, why are you laughing that they're doing poorly? Because I sat on pregame and said, the number one reason why everyone on our network is saying a win except for Stager, and Dahl doesn't make predictions, but she was not sure either. I said, no matter what Tua does, if they don't run the ball physically, physically, and you involve Jalen Wright and involve Jeff Wilson, who I saw was active, and involve Raheem Mostert, and they rely on Devon Achane. Now, I'm not saying Devon Achane is not a good, talented player, but as a running back, look at his stats today up the middle. He's a mid running back, and Greg and Brett backed me up 10 ways from Sunday. We can all love Achane. I think he's a great player, but as a running back, there's a reason why you and me were pounding the table for Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, whoever you wanted. The running backs we have on this team are absolutely inefficient at what they're doing. So now the definition of our insanity is Mike McDaniel, the guru, the McGenius of this league. Everyone brags about the Miami Dolphins offense or the play action. You have the ball at the 1 yard line. The 1 yard line to go up by 2 scores. And their first play is to use Devon Achane. You're not using Alec Ingold. You activated Jeff Wilson for the first time in 6 games, and you don't use him once. Jalen Wright sitting on the bench, and you're doing now throwing plays on the next 2 plays instead of potentially stuffing it or doing something on the 1 yard line. Are you absolutely kidding me? An NFL team that cannot score on the 1 yard line on 3 consecutive attempts, that offensive play caller should be fired while the plays are happening, because that's absolutely insane. Okay?
He got too cute. That's what it was.
But that's Mike McDaniel. And the reason why I'm sad, I'm always going to be upset with a Dolphins loss. I'm always going to be upset, right? But at the same time, if Achane's your best player on offense, to steal a line from Greg Maney, you'll lose every chance you get, because when he is the focus of the offense and you don't involve Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. What happened to Jalen Waddle after that beautiful first catch? He disappeared till the 4th quarter. Tyreek Hill only got involved in the 4th quarter. Where were they in the 1st and 2nd quarters? What was happening there? Jonnu Smith, for every 10 yards that he got, he had a great game for catching the ball. He took as many penalties. Of the 75 yards of penalties, I think he accounted for 50 of them. So his 110 yards only really nets him about 55 yards. So it doesn't do much for us. As long as, if people think that Devon Achane is a 3rd round small running back is going to lead you to victories on a team, you've got a different thing coming. Look, guys, Chris Brooks had 3 rushing attempts. 3 rushing attempts. Devon Achane had 7, and he had double the number of yards as he did. Chris Brooks killed you tonight on important plays.
Mm-hmm.
The defense, Anthony Weaver. As bad as we hated Fangio, the tackling on this team, the talent on this team, the fact that Wilkes had to be tackled by 11 players. I think some of the bench players, I think some of the special teams came on the field to help tackle Wilkes. It was absolutely unbelievable how inefficient. Jordan Poyer looked like he was slip and sliding the whole game. Storm Duck thought there was a rainstorm out there because he couldn't do anything. Saron Neal, they were always late to every single play. And I don't want to hear about penalties today. I don't want to hear about Tua. Tua, when he had the opportunity to go down the field, I don't want to hear about the stats, about how great his stats were. He was so inaccurate on so many plays. He's throwing, by the way, on these key drives, he's throwing to Devon Achane 15, 20 yards down the field, not Waddle or Hill. He's not throwing to Beckham. He's throwing to Malik Washington. And does Malik Washington get the same treatment as Julian Hill and Storm Duck, that every time you do something poor, you get more chances? Is that how it works on this team? That you get participation awards for actually trying? The fact that Tristan Melendez is yelling at Mike McDaniel, the fact that Mike McDaniel is lost on the sideline every chance he gets, the fact that Tua was getting the offensive line is a mess. Teron Armstead, I think, already wants to retire, because I think Van Ness just walked by him. They was hyped, and then Van Ness was already at Tua, and Teron Armstead goes, What just happened? I would cut Calais Campbell tomorrow and let him go play for contender. If they think they're going to win 6 in a row, or they're 5 in a row now and potentially go 10-7, it's still not going to be good enough.
So I'll let you continue right after I say this. This is Tua Tagovailoa on the playoff hopes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Let me just read it. And you continue what you're saying, because you just said it. He said, quote unquote, This one was a tough one for us as a team. I wouldn't say the dream's dead for our team just yet. Anything can happen in this league. Continue.
Okay.
Go ahead, dog. Go ahead, Courtney.
I just say it's been buried.
I
just left the funeral, Tua. You were there.
I left the funeral back in Arizona.
You said your piece there, Tua. You literally said last right.
And
There
by
you
the
go.
way, I told you this, Bobby, on week 2, and people still don't get what I meant. And Sager will agree with me on this, or I'll be shocked he doesn't. And Greg will definitely agree with me on this. The moment Tua cared more about being a hero in the second game of the season and dove into 185-pound Damar Hamlin, he ended the Dolphins season, because those 4 games that he missed, he killed the season, and he did it selfishly. And he did it because he wanted to be. He thinks he thinks he's better. The only person who's maybe laughing as much as I am tonight is Brian Flores, because what Brian Flores realizes is that maybe he was right. Tua cares more about his stats than about winning, because his stats look all nice at the end of tonight. His passer rating is going to be still over 100. He'll be the first quarter. He'll be part of this elusive club with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Oh, you have 100 passer rating. So did Kirk Cousins. And what has Kirk Cousins accomplished in his life? Not much. All I'm going to say is I'm happy for Dave Stager and I'm happy for the Packers. I'm sad for the Miami Dolphins for the fact that this team continues to be suffering through the ineptitude of Crossman, who maybe that's more of a Chris Greer thing than a Mike McDaniel thing. But in the end, it doesn't matter how bad Malik Washington was. It doesn't matter how bad Jonnu Smith was, how Julian Hill played, how Chop Robinson played. In the end, Matt LaFleur said at halftime, we're being more physical. Mike McDaniel, we just have to shoot ourselves in the foot. In the end, when you're taking 10 penalties and you consistently lose and you have yet to win a game against any good team, Mike McDaniel has yet to beat a good team since Baltimore week 2 of his first game of his first life in the career, where they made this amazing comeback. But we all know Baltimore lost that game because they weren't playing 2 deep safety. They gave that game away. The Miami Dolphins under Mike McDaniel are worse than any. I'm telling you this. He is the worst Miami Dolphins head coach for the talent on the field in Dolphins history, because Cameron had nobody. Philbin had nobody. Gates had a little bit of something and at least made the playoffs a little bit, but did a little bit of something. Flores did way more than he's ever done with the talent on his field. And you know what I love? When Jason Garrett and everyone was saying, what are the Dolphins doing? They could have wore scuba suits today. They were more concerned about, did you see any? I didn't see any Packer players wearing any of these stupid coats throughout the course of the game.
Nope.
And Jordan Love didn't exactly play in freezing cold weather. Half of these guys, freaking Aaron Rodgers played in Green Bay for how many years? And it's from freaking California. I don't want to hear the cold narrative. I don't want to hear the injury narrative. Mike McDaniel is the worst coach of the coaching tree by a country mile, because he's never even been an offensive coordinator. Even when he was an offensive coordinator, he was literally the run game coordinator, and Shanahan was calling the plays. He never even called his own plays in any division. And after 3 years, look at his play calling near the end of the game. You have a minute and a half left. You're not even going to chuck it down. Even if you get an interception, send Tyreek Hill, send Odell Beckham, send Jalen Waddle all the way down the field behind the 2 deep safes and just bomb the ball. Even if you get it intercepted, what are you doing for the last 2 minutes? Just doing chunk plays so someone could potentially get hurt, like Durham Smythe or Achane or whoever. In the end tonight, all it proved to me is what I said three weeks ago, Bobby. It didn't matter that they beat the Raiders. It didn't matter that they beat the Patriots. The moment Tua Tagovailoa ran headfirst into Damar Hamlin, the season was over. If Chris Greer gets another life, then Stephen Ross is the worst owner in sports, because he literally cares more about F1, tennis, and making money off the Dolphins and off the backs of the people who go to these games who get treated like garbage to begin with. In the end, I'm not upset about the fact that they lost. I'm upset about the fact that it's taken this long, and that for people to start to realize that what I've been saying for over 3 seasons, that Mike McDaniel, since the Chargers game, is the wrong head coach for this team. They think it's a country club. They think that there's no sense of accountability. There's no anger on the sideline. Dave, Matt LaFleur and the Green Bay Packers showed more passion on a pass interference penalty when you were up by 13 than the Miami Dolphins did at any point in that football game. You guys were up by 2 scores, and you guys showed more passion in that moment. I go, Mike McDaniel, you're still looking at your freaking play call sheet. Like, there's there's nothing there. Anthony Rivers basically just hurt his own career because he'll never get a head coaching job now that he's a Dolphins coach. He should have stayed in Baltimore.
I want to add something on that real quick. So
Yeah.
NFL teams, you can see which teams match the personalities of their coach.
Yeah.
And when you see McDaniel, they showed so many, I think it was 8 times on the sideline today, and he's looking at the camera going with his mouth open, like he's not doing anything. There's no emotion. Like you said, look at Dan Campbell. He gets fired up when he gets like, I'm not trying to mention a former Dolphin staff or player there, but look at what he's doing in Detroit. Look at the attitude that they match. People are questioning, oh, well, they're dirty. No, it just matches Dan Campbell's personality. That's what it is. And Matt LaFleur is the same way. It doesn't matter if he's down 30, if he's up by 30. If there's a bad call and he thinks it, he's going to freaking argue it. And that's the way his team rallies to it. And you can see that. And with McDaniel, he's slowly, to me, losing the locker room right now. If he wasn't, you'd see more fight out of that team. And that's Bobby said that on pregame. He goes, even if we lose, I want to see fight. I didn't see much tonight.
No.
That was my biggest issue. I'm sorry, Evan, to interrupt.
No, you didn't interrupt.
I had
You're
to
telling me
double
everything I've
tap
been
on
saying.
that.
Like for me, the reason why and I've been saying this for a long time, and I want to talk. I've always tied Greer to McDaniel because I don't believe that Mike McDaniel should be able to still be a head coach if Chris Greer goes, because they're tied and they've been doing this half measure for so long, and then they tie themselves to Tua. What has Tua accomplished? Tua has great stats, but so has Kirk Cousins. Like, it doesn't prove anything. What has Kirk Cousins done? Jordan Love has done more Jordan Love has done more in the last 2 years than Tua's done in 5. And he's literally, Tua's done nothing. Tua's accomplished nothing in the NFL. And it's sad because and unfortunately for him, I think being with McDaniel hurts him more, because McDaniel is putting him in a position to look moronic. Because Mike McDaniel's play design might be nice, but he's not the right play caller for a team. There's no sense of urgency. And he's literally now, even when they were down and needed urgency, he was still dinking and dunking because he didn't know what else to do. He looks lost. Tonight he was supposed to adjust back to try to win this game, and he couldn't adjust. It happens when he falls behind. He doesn't know how to catch up. He just doesn't get it.
He's a front runner coach.
Exactly.
Let me go ahead and ask. Let me get Greg in here and Indul as well. I'm going to start with Greg here, and Indul comes in and follows up. Greg, obviously the narrative, and everybody, there's a lot. It's been going on through the whole week, and there were some people saying it's not true. Dolphins don't lose in the cold, and kill that narrative. And Tua says he was going to kill the narrative. Obviously, the narrative was not killed today. But did the Dolphins lose because of the weather, or did they lose because of the Dolphins?
They lost because of the Dolphins. All right. We talk about fight and everything else, and yeah, you want that as a coach and you want that as a team, but you got to be smart first. Okay. You can have all the fight you want and you're still stupid. You're still going to lose. All right. The narrative of this year's Dolphins team is stupid. All right. They do more dumb stuff on a weekly basis and on a game planning basis than any team I've seen in an NFL. All right. We talked about this in the pregame, and I've said it before. Okay. The Dolphins had 3 points with 2 minutes left in the first half, and Waddle, Hill, and Smith had touched the ball 4 times. And people are surprised by this. Okay. They showed a stat. Okay. All right. Garrett, the idiot head coach, or former head coach of the
Jason
Browns.
Garrett, yeah,
Jason Garrett. Okay,
yeah.
They put up a stat that said Tyreek Hill is averaging, his drop in average yards per game from last year to this year is the biggest since 1970. 1970. All right, you have a coach and a philosophy going on right now that's not getting him the ball. And Tyreek Hill is a good player. So is Justin Jefferson. So is, Jamar Chase. All of these guys, they're good players, but how the other coaches figure out how to get them the ball, and we can't until basically it's garbage time today when he finally starts doing something. It's just dumb. They commit too many penalties. All right? Again, 10 penalties today. The last 2 games that they won in, the offense looked pretty good. They didn't commit that many penalties. Today, they go right back to where they were 3, 4, 5 games ago and in the losing streak. It's stupid. All right. Not kicking the ball out of the end zone to start the game is stupid. All right. Not working out with the punt returner to try to figure out how to handle a ball in the cold is stupid. All right. The frustration level for me is that they don't keep getting the better as the year goes on. The last 3 years, they keep getting worse. All right. So that's a reflection of coaching. That's all that is. All right. It's not, you have to improve in certain aspects of the game as the year goes on. What are they improving on? You know, I thought the game plan last week was really good. The game plan this week to start out with was crap. It was dumb. You know, it just, that's the frustrating part. You think I constantly think this team's about ready to turn a corner, and then they just go back and want to start over again. It just did not make any sense, and you could tell it 5 minutes in. And then that's how this team runs. It wasn't the cold weather, it wasn't the wind, it wasn't anything else. It was just stupid. And this team plays stupid football.
There you go.
I don't know how else to say it.
Oh, pretty clear. I mean, right on. We'll jump to Doll's Diaries now. You know, you hear what Greg said, and I'll throw you the same question. You know, was it we hear the narrative all week, you know, and Miami doesn't kill it. Was it the weather or was it Miami that they lost this game?
No, it was 100% Miami. I really don't think the weather played a huge role in it. I think that they were slightly unprepared for the weather, but I don't think that overall it was the weather. It was the Dolphins. It was the game plan. It was the execution. It was the fact that this defense couldn't get pressure. The secondary, I couldn't make a tackle to save their lives. That's not the cold weather. That's just you being a pansy. The defensive line couldn't get pressure. And frankly, a huge problem is the fact that the entire league has figured out that if you just put 2 high safeties, the Dolphins suddenly don't have a passing game. And it's 2 years now that Mike McDaniel has no idea how to counteract that. As soon as he sees 2 high safeties, he's going to throw a screen. He does not know what to do. You will shut down Hill and Waddle with 2 safeties. And it's been 2 years now. And he did not go into his little playbook and be this offensive genius that he alleges that he is and figure out, okay, they're going to put 2 safeties. Here's how I counteract that. Instead, he looks at it. They'll sprint over to him and he'll go, oh no, there's 2 safeties back there. What do I do? And it's 2 years now. So where is your genius here? Even I can see. As soon as I see 2, I'm like, we're not throwing that. That's going to be a backwards pass behind the line of scrimmage. Then our offensive line that can't stop a ladybug is going to get it blown up, and we're going to lose 5 yards. Where I do disagree, Evan, first of all, I'd like to preface the fact that this year's Xavier Howard is Devon Achane. So watch your mouth.
I never question X. X once.
I'm just letting you know that I stand with Devon Achane.
But I've never.
You're either with us or against us.
No,
right?
but let me be clear about Devon Achane. I think he's a great complementary player. But if you take Devon Achane and you make him your number 1 star player on any team, Stager will back me up because I know Greg's about to shake his head. You will never win in this league. Name me one.
Name me a game that we've won this year that isn't because of Devon Achane.
Last week.
Oh, wait.
Last week. Look at last week, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Why is their leading receiver at this point and running back?
Last week was our most dominating win,
Yeah.
and who? Greg.
And and today, wait a second. And today he wasn't, and we lost the game.
He got the
You know,
most.
He was
And
he
you know
wasn't the
what?
leading
Targets.
receiver.
He was the most
He was
targeted
not the
receiver.
leading receiver. He
was
wasn't
the
the
most
leading
targeted
runner.
receiver. He was the most targeted player
Stop it.
overall.
Stop
He
And
had
the
the
reason
most
why we
targets
didn't
of any
win
player.
wasn't because Devon Achane can't run. It's because our offensive line couldn't
I
block.
never
And our
said
coach
that.
can't adjust. That's why it's not Devon
No.
Achane.
I
Stop.
okay. I
Johnny
never know,
Smith and Devon Achane are carrying this fucking team.
and that's how what we're doing. And we're
Jalen
5-7.
Waddle and
And we're
Tyreek Hill
5-7.
are out there picking their nose. Most
We're
certainly.
5-7.
Preach.
No.
5-7.
Odell Beckham is dropping passes like it's his job. It is Johnny Smith and it is Devon Achane, and you can take that shut up your ass, Evan, because that is the truth.
All
Back
love it
me up,
here.
Greg. Greg, would you like to back me up, Greg?
And it's why they're 5-7.
Thank you, Greg. Greg, back
All
me
right.
up here, please.
They're not
Greg,
5-7
Greg,
because of Devon
Greg,
Achane.
Greg,
They're
Greg,
5-7 because McDaniel can't figure out how to expand the offense behind an extension to
they can't get
Tyreek
back
and
to
Waddle.
quarterback.
Devon
Let Greg
Achane,
explain
Devon
Achane.
Achane, Devon Achane's not having as good a year as Raheem Mostert did last year, and Raheem Mostert was the fourth option last year. Okay, they just replaced. They just basically said, okay, Achane, you're going to be Mostert this year, all right, and you're not going to get any other production out of Hill, Waddle, and basically now Jonnu Smith, all right. So basically, if Mostert was the best, if Mostert was the best player on your team last year, okay, at running back, it wasn't good enough, and you replaced him with Achane, and he's not good enough either because he's not a guy who can carry a team. He's just not. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Saquon Barkley. He's not any one of another half dozen running backs.
But those guys are traditional
Jacobs.
those guys are
Josh
traditional
Jacobs.
backs. Devon Achane is not that back.
Correct. He's not that back. He's a complimentary player. He's a 10 touch a game player. Okay? If he's getting more than that, your offense gets worse. And the stats show that. Okay? The stats actually show that.
I'm not a stats fan because stats don't show you the whole picture.
Yeah, because if somebody looks at the stats today, looks at Tua's numbers, they think Tua had a great game.
Correct.
Evan just made that point.
Correct, but they're also one of the worst scoring teams in the league, and Devin Achane is the leading wide receiver, and he's the leading rusher.
Yeah.
Does that not tell you that the offense is bad?
That tells me that the Dolphins didn't have a good backup quarterback.
That tells me that Mike.
They were one of the worst scoring teams when Tua was there.
All right. Thompson last week when we tried to sit our starters, literally fumbled the first handoff to the backup running back.
I understand that. All right, and Devon Achane had some of his best.
He wasn't on the field, but it seems like that's probably Achane's fault then.
Well, Achane had some of his best games with the backup quarterback too.
Shame on Fitzstanza for getting Greg.
When your offense is focused on your fourth or fifth best option on offense, you would have a bad offense.
I don't think Achane your fourth. I think he's running back number one. He was drafted to be running back number one, and I think this year he has taken over as running back number one. And because we can't get anything going, he is running. He's also receiver number one. Honestly, at this point. So to say he's your fourth best option, I think is your opinion, which you're allowed to have, but I don't think it's factual.
Let Stagers chime in.
Let him chime in. This will be
okay. I respect everyone's opinion here, but I feel like hell's frozen over now because I'm agreeing with Evan again, which is like uncanny. I love Achane or Chan or however you pronounce his name. I love him. He's a great talent, but I am on the board with he is not a primary back consistently because he also has injury issues because of how much they were using him before. And with this type of offense, you cannot use him like that. You need a cowbell for this type. That's why Shanahan has McCaffrey. That's why he has Mason behind McCaffrey, because you cannot use a player like Achane and his size in this type of offense. And that's why Green Bay went out and got a Josh Jacobs because of that. They needed a cowbell for it. And they're not even using the best back on the team, in my opinion. Wright's the best back. He is the best pound for pound skill runner, cut, slash in the ground. Chain is fast. It's nice, but he fits McDaniel's scheme. That's it. If you want to talk about best pound for pound running back, Jalen Wright all day long. That's just me.
He hasn't proven himself. I don't agree with that because he hasn't proven himself.
Because he hasn't gotten the touches because McDaniel keeps giving him a chain.
But that's what you do in the preseason. And I'll say this. First of all, I just want to say very quick. First off, I was a believer in Achane after last season, but I was also an advocate for Miami going and trying to go get a Derrick Henry and some because I do believe we need a thumper. I don't think anybody's saying Achin should be the primary back where you're grounded and pounded with him. He's not built like that. He's one of your primary weapons, and that's not because they said we're going to make him a primary weapon. It's because the defenses have figured out Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. It's Mike McDaniel who hasn't figured out how to get those guys involved.
Bingo.
And guess what? Tua now, he had this disease with Tyreek Hill 2 seasons ago, even a little bit last year, where he always went to one guy. He only zoned in on one guy. Guess what? That new guy is Devon Achin. That's not Devon Achin's fault. Just because Devon Achin is their leading guy in a losing team because they couldn't sign a backup quarterback and they didn't go get that primary back, they decided to go draft Jalen White instead of going after a Derrick Henry or a primary back. I'm all agree about, Miami should go get a primary. They decide, no, we're going to keep Raheem Mostert and we're going to make him our third back. And we're going to go draft Jalen White. We're going to make him our second guy. And Devon Achin, we're just going to have him keep zoning out here and here and here. Miami, that's Miami's error. But that doesn't make my Achin, and it's like, he's a mid back. No, he's one of our top players on offense. You could use him as a running back. You could use him as a receiver. Let's be real about what his role is here. No one's calling him a primary back or he should be your lead guy or your every down back. He's not an every down back. That's Miami's fault. That's not Devon Achin's fault. That's Mike McDaniel's fault. That's not.
He's a hell of a player. No one's saying he isn't. Yeah.
No, what I'm saying is, what I'm just saying is that
I wanted to
100%. Evan knows I've been calling for that for 2-3 years.
I wanted a ground and pound. I wanted a true fullback. I wanted a true bully.
Tua is an elite ball handler. He's not an elite quarterback. I believe that Devon Achin is an elite pass catcher and could be an elite pass catcher in the NFL. But I don't think he's an elite running back because they're shoving him up to the Bobby.
Him a Swiss Army knife or an elite running back?
Yes, but the problem is that Bobby and Stager, if you had a choice on second down of all the run, if you had a choice right now, second down, 2nd and 1, or 4th and 1, and you have to run it up the middle.
Second down or 4th and 1?
I'm asking Dave Stager this question. Today, when you were watching 2nd and 1, you were probably laughing. You were probably laughing at the fact. Sorry, apologies. Stager and Greg. And y'all can say the same thing. I like Achin. If you're 2nd and 1 and you have to pound it up the middle, if you had a choice between Alec Ingold, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Jalen Wright, and Devon Achin to pound it up the middle like they did, the last person on your list will be Devon Achin.
Yes, I agree. He doesn't have enough weight in the pants to do it.
Exactly. There's a reason why Devon Achin is catching most of his stuff. He had more receptions today than he did receiving running yards. Is because he's better in space. He doesn't have space when he's running up the middle. You want to say that he's our third wide receiver? You wanted to give him that opportunity? Fantastic. But if you're going to make him your primary back, because the best running back we had on the field today was Raheem Mostert, and he kept on getting called back because Tyreek Hill felt like holding the guy. Mm-hmm. In the end, Devon Achin on a team, if you want to win, he's one of the guys. If you make him your primary, you're not going to win. There's a reason why Green Bay went from Aaron Jones to Josh Jacobs. They didn't take a mid person. There's a reason why in Dallas they don't have a running game. They went to Ezekiel Elliott instead of holding on to a bell cow running back that they could find. There's a reason why, as bad as the Titans were for as long as they were, and they struggled, why with the worst offensive line in football? Why? Because they had Derrick F. Henry. The Baltimore Ravens are 7-4 or 8-4 right now, when they should be 9-1 or 8-2, because in the games that they've lost, they forgot to use Derrick Henry. There's a reason why in the first few games, why did they struggle, the Eagles? Because they forgot to use Saquon Barkley, and they thought that Jalen Hurts was the star of the team. If you don't utilize Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle on a regular basis the way this team is built, you will not win this year. And Mike McDaniel,
Miami utilized Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle for 2 seasons. Have we won anything then?
More than we have now.
More than we have now?
We will win more. No, we will win more.
They didn't win shit.
We had they're going to use the injury excuse. We did more.
No, there's no injury excuse.
We were the number one offense in the league. What's our offensive record right now?
By default. 30th? Who cares? No, we're not 30th in the NFL.
Well, we're 28th, 26th, 25th.
No, go higher.
20th.
No. Anyway, listen. Don't say, because they didn't win with Tyreek and Waddle as their lead guys.
Let's just be clear about this. Let's just be clear about one thing. The Miami Dolphins started a rebuild in 2019. They are no better now than they were in 2019. That falls on Ross. That falls on Greer.
Bingo.
And what they have put, Mike McDaniel was maybe the right.
Now you're in the right ballpark.
They did it in the wrong order. Mike McDaniel was the right coach in 2019. Brian Flores was the right coach in 2022. You have a guy who's won before, who has been a defensive coordinator, has been an assistant for 15 years, who's won Super Bowls, versus a guy who's never been a play caller in his life until he got to Miami. And what is Frank Smith doing exactly? What is Butch Barry doing? Danny Crossman, does literally Chris Greer, who basically told us, or Mike McDaniel said, I stopped Chris Greer from trading Calais Campbell, but Mike McDaniel doesn't have the cojones to go fire Danny Crossman? Are you kidding me? Saran Neal, I thought we drafted him to be a gunner. Instead, now he's taking holding penalties and blocks in the back on special teams and can't play, and now playing safety or corner. It's an absolute disaster. How many times have we Cam Smith? Maybe Vic Fangio was right, because his first play today, he took a penalty right away. He was completely whiffed on the pass. Everyone got upset. Oh, that was pass interference on Watson. Was it Watson? I think it was Watson.
It was the Watson play where Cam was hanging off him.
It was totally on Cam Smith. All to say, in the end, you can't fire 53 players. And to correct Raphael at the top, they actually have an agreement with Calais Campbell that the moment they're out of it, they're going to cut him.
I just want to say very quick. You follow up. You continue. Calais Campbell, after what Tua said earlier, he followed up with that he told the guys 10-7 gets us in. I just want to
they
tell
don't have
you
a chance at 10-7.
I'm just telling you what he said. Go ahead, continue.
No. So in the end, everything here is fodder, and I will take anything back. I'm just saying very clearly that Mike McDaniel is not a head coach in the NFL. He might be in the future, but he needs to go back and do exactly what Flores is doing for different reasons and go be an OC somewhere and earn his britches again. He is not a capable head coach. And right now, if you see what's happening right now in San Francisco, the Shanahan offense ain't working for Kyle Shanahan right now. Even with Brock Purdy, I made a comment before that if Brock Purdy if they don't make the playoffs or they don't win the division, I don't think they're going to sign Brock Purdy, because I think Brock Purdy is showing that he's a decent player, but he's no superstar. He's not going to get $50 million from anybody. Let
me get Greg's thoughts here, and we'll follow up with Dahl and then Dave. But so we heard, I told you what Tua said. I told you what Calais Campbell has said. I didn't hear what Jordan Brooks said in full here. I didn't hear it, but I'm reading it. But he said, linebacker Jordan Brooks said he thought the weather was a factor and the Dolphins played soft. Greg, reaction.
You could say that the Dolphins play soft every game. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're not built to be a physical team.
No, we talked about that before the year.
Right? They're just not. This is the greatest show on turf, okay? And it's speed all over the field. That's what you're supposed to be winning with. All right? If you want to change your team and you want to become more physical, then you got to change the players. But they don't have those type of players right now. So you got to win with speed. You got to win on the edges. All right, you're not going to be a physical team. All right, you're not, and if you want to use the label soft, whatever. Okay, there are plenty of teams that win Super Bowls who are soft, who aren't physical. Mm-hmm. All right, you don't have to win that way. The NFL is soft compared to what it was 25 years ago. If you want to go there, all right, the weather wasn't a factor. Mm-hmm. Again, they were just stupid. All right. I mean, and I keep coming back to that. You can't commit the penalties, you can't commit the turnovers, and you can't have the game plan and expect to win. Not on a short week when you're traveling against a good team. Right? Yeah. How many games are you going to win on the road committing 10 penalties? Just not many.
17 missed tackles, 17 missed tackles, 10 penalties, special teams mishap, 5 sacks given up, no sacks given, taken,
I just want to make Dahl smile for 30 seconds, for about 5 seconds. The most physical player on our defense last year was cut. His name was Xavier Howard. If you think Xavier Howard would have put up with this nonsense, you got to be kidding me. So I'll give her a comment there. Guys, our team literally is a dumpster fire until they blow it up, because you can't fix this. You can't patch it, because the stat I just put up of Barry Jackson, that we're 1-10 and minus 168 during the Mike McDaniel era of not the first season, his last 2 seasons. Take away his rookie year. In his last 11 games, he's been outscored 168 points against winning teams. That is an app. You should be fired. Name me someone else who doesn't lose their job for that. But that's on Ross. Ross is literally the worst owner in sports if he doesn't do anything immediately. He has nothing to lose. He has nothing to lose to do anything tomorrow. If
we know he's not going to. You know he's not.
I know he's not. But he has nothing to lose at this point, because if they truly think that they're going to turn this around, they're living in technical, so they can go face Buffalo or Baltimore or Kansas City on the road in the cold again. They're not. But this is what the best part about all this, guys, is, and then I want Dahl to go. They're not facing a good team on the road in the cold for the rest of the year. So even if they beat the Jets, even if they beat Cleveland,
right,
the narrative is going to be the same no matter what happens.
Well, because if they do get in, right,
it's like the same narrative, and they're going to get their ass kicked. They're going to get, and I don't want to hear anything about cold weather, because there's a team that didn't have their players on Saturday, and I think even Dave, you watched that game, and so did I. The San Francisco Jordan Love was not very good. They had to rely on Josh Jacobs running the ball 40 times on Sunday.
Jordan Love was a game manager that game, but he didn't. Exactly. He did what he needed to do.
No, but I'm saying San Francisco does not play in cold weather, and they've gone in there many times. Tampa Bay with Tom Brady went in there and beat Green Bay. I don't want to hear the narrative.
Hey, don't twist the knife.
I'm not. But Staker, by the way, I'm about to tell you this right now. I don't care about Tua's stats. Tua right now, when he had to be the man on 2nd and 1, 3rd and 1, and 4th and 1, and in the first half before they got the ball back and scored 3 points, which Bobby, every game I've said to you, the Mike McDaniel special is he doesn't score to go into the locker room, but he lets the other team score, letting them go into the locker room every single solitary game. So all I'm saying is Mike McDaniel needs to be fired, not because of what he's done last year or what he did 2 years ago. His performance this year from a backup quarterback perspective, from a game preparation perspective, and from the way he's coached a winning team. This is supposed to be a winning franchise right now this year, and you're 1-10 minus 168 in your last 11. That's fireable. That's fireable on a team that's supposed to be making the playoffs and winning.
Yes, sir. Dahl? Let me go ahead.
No, re-ask me again, because I think we got off on tangents.
No, yeah. I don't know what the original. I don't even know what the original question was, but I'll ask it well, first off, what Jordan Brooks said about the players playing soft, that he thinks cold weather was a factor, but the team was soft. And we know how offended the players were, the current players, with Deshaun Elliott's comments. You brought up Deshaun Elliott earlier. Now our own linebacker was like, hey, no, we played soft. We're a soft football team. Your thoughts on that? And then Evan's talking about firing McDaniel tomorrow. Go ahead.
They were soft. I don't think you can't watch back the tape, miss 17 to 20 tackles, and sit there and stand on a podium and say, no, I played a bully ball. I was bullying guys all over the field. So you got dragged. How many times did I see guys tackling ankles and falling to the ground and you couldn't stop anybody? The film doesn't lie. And for your own player to admit it, first of all, good on him, because he's not lying. But also, you can't get mad at it, because it's the truth. If you don't want people to call you soft, then go out on the field and play some tough ball. There's a reason that Pittsburgh and Baltimore have these reputations, because they prioritize and they take pride in the fact that they are aggressive, dominant teams in the trenches. And, sometimes they get caught a little dirty, but they take pride in that. We take pride in being fast. And look at us. When there's an open field and there's no two safeties and there's just green grass, we can run like a track team and look at us go. But if there's two safeties, we can't do that anymore. By the way, if you're pressuring Tua, we can't do that anymore. we can't run anymore if you're defending us. So at some point, changes need to be made. And I think that everybody is pretty unanimous that they want Chris Greer gone. I think that he's made too many. I think Van Ginkel, in everybody's mind, was the final straw with Chris Greer, not even extending him an offer to stay. And he's over in Minnesota having probably one of the best years of his career. And we're over here fighting narratives about being soft. We had 0 sacks today. I don't even know what the pressures were, but I would be shocked if we pressured Love more than like twice. We played horrific ball and we drafted soft players. We've messed up. So if you fire Greer, you have to fire McDaniel.
100%.
Because you have to blow the whole thing up. You can't do a half blow up like we've done. You can't get a new GM and say, yeah, we're going to hire you, but guess what? You have to deal with everything left and figure this out. That's not fair. That's setting him up for failure. And I'm sorry, Tuanon, but you also have to come with the opportunity that this new GM and this new head coach may not want Tua. And he would be on the chopping block as well. It's going to come with the territory. And that's not a knock on Tua. That's not a knock on anything. It's just saying if you're bringing in new pieces, you have to understand that they may not want the existing pieces already there. And at some point, we have to be okay with that. Because if we're going to have a bully type, if we're going to completely change our identity, Tua may not fit the new scheme that we may be doing. But the biggest mistake that could happen, and I could see Stephen Ross doing, is hiring from within. Is firing Chris Greer, and I think I heard that there was like the financial guy that he's thinking of bringing up. Like, he cannot hire within this organization. If we're going to blow it up, he needs to go outside of the current organization and find somebody new. There's not a single person in this organization that should be brought up into Chris Greer's role. It should be blow it up, find new, and start fresh. That's where Ross could really fuck up. I forget the guy's name, but I know that he's been like outed.
You know what I'm talking about? Brandon Shore? Is that the one you're talking about? Okay. Yeah. Brandon Shore.
No, do not do it. You need to find new, because nobody in this organization is going to do the right thing. But I think people need to be aware. But I also don't blame Tua for this loss. I don't think that it was completely on Tua. I think that the play calling was horrendous. Our red zone play calling was even more horrendous. I was calling all draft, if you guys recall. I wanted us to get a Derrick Henry. I said, I want us to get a bully back. Like, I wanted that big, beefy back to complement Achane and Mozart and the speed backs.
Yep.
And I actually thought that was going to be Chris Brooks.
Chris Brooks. It was Chris Brooks.
I thought it was going to be Chris Brooks. He was gone then. But even Brooks, I think, wasn't as bully back as I wanted us to be. You know, I was really beefy, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey. Like, I wanted that to complement our game. We didn't do that. We chose speed. We chose, you know, we got Malik Washington, who is out here playing like a low round, like a high, well, I say low, but a bigger number, but you know what I mean. A low round pick who, frankly, how are you tremendous in college, and then you come out here and you can't catch a pound, like a pick. It's just, you need to blow it up. And I think that Dolphin fans need to be prepared, because you cannot, I know everybody loves Tua, I know everybody loves McDaniel. The whole thing's got to blow up. And
Bobby, yeah. What time is it? I just want to know, do you know what time it is?
Is it time to blow it up?
No, because I think that Tua and McDaniel once forgot what time it was, and that there was 0 on the clock. And even like, how many times are they not going to get to play it?
I don't know.
No, they aren't the Bears.
No, but no, Tager, you know how many times they've taken delay? They had a 3rd and 3.
That was so freaking dumb, dude.
Or when you guys took a 5-yard penalty, we'll take another penalty back. Like, I couldn't believe, like, they literally still do this. It's 3 years. They don't know.
Yeah, but be careful with the microphone, man.
They don't
pop in eardrums.
By the way, I love you, Courtney. Everything. It's a pleasure. By the way, I'm going to tell you this right now. When a Melendez, when 2 members have, because Bobby never agrees with me. usually. But when multiple members of the Melendez
Hold on,
family
very quick. If multiple members of my family off
agree
air,
with
off
me,
camera, are saying what you being
when-
reported out
when
of the house,
Tristan-
what does that mean to you?
Tristan was like gets me now.
Trust me, I was here.
Tati was tweeting 30 seconds into the game.
Dude, I was
Postgame
stomping the
gonna be
floor. I think I
fire.
broke my
Yeah,
wood
Tati, you
floor.
were tweeting back and forth. We were communicating.
That's why
No,
she came to me. She goes,
but she
you
was
see what dog tweeting about? I said, no, I haven't looked. I'm not look. I don't like to look at Twitter. I don't. I try to just.
Oh, I tweeted.
Stop.
I said you guys should stop thinking about the playoffs. It's time to look at the draft. And she saw that and was immediately like, "That's a hot take that you need to say publicly." And I'm like, I've been saying this publicly, so I'll say it again for those in the back. Stop talking about the playoffs. It's just not happening. First of all, even if you get to 10-7, you still don't control the Broncos or the Colts, who are still need to get in. If you don't control your own destiny, you don't deserve to be in the
And
playoffs.
you don't want to make the playoffs this year the way you're playing.
Well, and again, that's
you
Evan's
don't
point.
control
Yeah.
your destiny for the playoffs. You don't deserve to be there.
But you also don't want to make the playoffs because, like someone posted, who posted it? I don't want to give them credit.
Well, it's like what Evan.
Who wrote the 345? The average. I want to give the person credit. Where is it? That the fact that the winning percentage of the current teams we're playing for the rest of the year is 345. So, DSG label, my buddy. If we 375, even if we win out and we made the playoffs, it's going to be the same narrative.
Well, that's exactly that again to your point, and you've been saying this. Even if they were to win out, they got to face one of these other, these big teams in these cold, whether it's Arrowhead or Buffalo or wherever. And if they can't do it against Green Bay, and I said it with Stager, and I've said it to you. When we, it's all good when you're beating the bad teams. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes time to beat the good teams, you got to get the job done. Just do your job.
And by the way, they were missing.
They don't play consistent football.
No, they don't.
And when you're missing, go ahead. Your kid's behind you, just FYI.
Yeah, he wants to listen. He's my little dog.
It's it's
by the way,
right.
let's not forget about something. The Dolphins went in more healthy than the Packers. You were missing Alexander and Cooper.
Oh my gosh, dude!
Hold on.
Everybody, first off, kudos. Let me give shout out right now to Dave Stager. I just want to. I'm going to throw him up here very quick. First of all, called the Daniel Jones to Minnesota Vikings the day before. He was talking about that. And he talked about the snow, but he also said, "Look, man." He said this because I asked him. I said, "What's your cause?" Because mostly everyone is going to pick the Packers over Miami, right? And rightfully so. That's what went down. But I said, "What is your cause to pause that you go? You know what? If Miami was to win this game, this would be the reason." He said, "Jair Alexander could be out." He said, "Edrin Cooper, the linebacker, the rookie linebacker, is going to be out. That Jonnu Smith should eat." All these factors. That happened. That went down, and Miami still couldn't take advantage of those situations.
I never heard Xavier McKinney's name. Xavier McKinney took a nap for most of the game.
Yeah, because Tua wouldn't take the deep shot. That's why he's scared of the interception.
But that's funny. Jordan Love had no problem taking the deep shot. None whatsoever.
I mean, Jordan, no offense, but Jordan Poyer is kind of past his prime.
Oh, no, Jordan Poyer literally is the most useless football. And by the way, of all the players, he should be used to playing in the cold. The guy played in the cold his entire career. The guy literally was slipping and sliding up and down the field. He could not tackle it. And Dobson today, beautiful interception. Did you see how bad Jacobs made him look? Did you see what he did to him?
That was, he took his ankles for Christmas. That was bad.
Yeah, that was a thing. That was.
Poyer's an op.
Who?
Poyer. He's an op.
Yeah.
So I will say this. Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby.
No, you're good, brother. No,
I was going to go ahead and add two other little hidden maybe strengths the Packers had on the Dolphins. Was one, the defensive coordinator I hated last year. Bobby's heard me say his name. I hate Joe Barry. He is horrible. And you guys signed him as a linebackers coach. So when I saw this game on the schedule, LaFleur knows how to beat his defense. And also, two, another one, Robert Saleh, we picked up as a consultant. He was with McDaniel a lot in San Francisco when he was there. So he knows how his offenses want to run. He knows what he wants to do. So we already had, a couple insights. One, LaFleur knows McDaniel because of their past. But Saleh now, defensive mind head coach, he knows how McDaniel works. We know how Joe Barry works. So I feel like Miami was already behind the 8 ball even before the kickoff.
Bobby, maybe you can attest to this, or Dahl, maybe you guys can go after it, because Tati was tweeting about this. What is up with Mike McDaniel in his when he gets interviewed? By the way, there's pictures of him all over Twitter right now. He was literally shaking. Like you see all his play calling sheet with the wind. He was literally free. But when he gets interviewed, something's up. He's stuttering. He looks confused. He wants to do, and then he laughs and then he runs away. He didn't
too strong of a hit of a CBD he's hitting on the sideline.
I don't know what he's doing there, but something's up with him. There's something up. Every time he gets interviewed in these cold games, he's doing something to stay warm, but I don't know what it is. He does. Honestly, he's not looked right all year, but something is wrong. Like, honestly, on no offense, for his sake, I know it sounds awful, for his sake, if this continues like this, it's not good for his mental health. This is not good because right now, people were really racing into Greer for the last couple of years. Now he's literally tied to him.
He could be anemic. That's what it is. He could be anemic.
Yeah, he could be. But he was slurring, like you said.
But I will say, we all know. But God, let's not get into that. I will say though,
he tries too hard to be quirky. I think
so too. He tries to be funny too much.
He tries to make
ice cubes at people.
No, but I think instead he thinks like if I go out there and I'm quirky and I'm funny, I can deflect the actual conversations and I don't have to answer the questions. And so I can just come off like quirky, and it comes off, I think, very insincere a lot. And it feeds into the narrative that we say that he doesn't care and he has no emotion. He doesn't take it seriously. The whole team doesn't. But I think that's just what he does is he has embraced the whole like I'm quirky thing. And I think it needs to end. I think he needs to become a leader, become a head coach. And
but it might not be with this job. It's gonna be he's gonna go and be an OC somewhere and then do it a second job. Greg, you were trying to say something, brother?
No, I was gonna say this basically add to what Dal was saying that he wants to be quirky, and he also knows that after 15, 20, 30 seconds, basically the question ends. So he just constantly times himself, in my opinion, to say nothing. All right. And he slutters, it stirs, and he goes, and well, things like that, just to buy time to just get on with it. I mean, it's an interviewing technique. They actually
I get it.
How to do
I get it. It's like a version. I guess we were so used to him at first, even though he was a quirky guy for the 2 years, and on the honeymoon, we're used to him being open and talking away. Now he's kind of like, and it's like, whoa, what the hell's wrong with it? What's going on now with him?
I think it's kind of like the two.
Belichick.
He just doesn't have an answer for it.
That's right. Yeah.
I want to ask you this question.
I'll say it this way though too. He might not have an answer, or he does have the answer that he doesn't want to tell you.
That's right.
Okay.
Go ahead, Evan.
Bobby, I want to ask you this question.
Yeah.
And tell me in all seriousness, with this existing talent, tonight's game, the way they played, the way they played in all these cold weather games the last 2 years against these winning teams, what did you want 2.5 seasons ago? What did you want when they were looking for a head coach?
A veteran head coach.
If in tonight's game, does the team look this inept with Mike Vrabel as their head coach?
No.
If it's Bill Belichick tonight, I'm not saying Bill Belichick retire him. Do you think Bill Belichick lets this happen tonight?
What did Dave? Then I'm just not being sarcastic. What did Dave Stager bring up earlier? What is Stags? You take the personality of your head coach. And that's why for me, yes, if it was to go down, if let's say, and I'm going to bring my point up, and then but if Miami was to blow it up, which I agree, if they're going to fire one, they need to fire both. And if you're going to blow it up, you need to get a veteran head coach, or you get a former player as a head coach, because you look at like a DeMarco Ryans, you look at a Mike Vrabel, a guy who's been in a locker room, a guy who knows how to, and it gets into a player's face and not afraid to do it, who's been there, done that. Those guys work too, but a veteran head coach, or obviously my main guy would be Mike Vrabel, would be my number one.
My buddy who's a Bucs fan who hates Todd Bowles once said to me, "You guys are hiring a wide receiver from Yale as your head coach? I
don't mean that type of former player.
No,
I mean
you're hiring a guy who was a wide receiver at Yale as your head coach. That's the personality of your football team."
Bobby wants Deion Sanders. former player.
God.
God forbid.
Why? No, if you get the Dion Shador combo, it's gonna
Yeah.
go up in flames.
100%. That's what Bobby wants. He just said he wants an
No,
NFL.
I don't mean
Oh,
that's not what I meant.
I heard
No.
you say Deion Sanders.
Bobby,
You
our
hear a
my
lot
new
of
theme
things.
song.
You
Bobby,
hear
my
the
new theme
voices in
song
your
with
head,
Greg.
girl. Hey, I didn't say
My new
that.
theme song.
You heard it here first on Finstock Sports Network. Hot
Yeah.
take: Bobby wants Deion Sanders to coach the
Bobby, you
Miami
need to reach
Dolphins.
God help us. Oh my.
Bobby, you need to reach out to Seth Rollins because I need to find a way to get his theme song to be the future song for myself, Brett, and Greg whenever we do overtime, because that's what's going to be. It's all about burning it down because this is.
I like that. That's actually really good.
Because honestly, everyone's saying the same thing here. We're all saying the same thing, but now I think everyone's coming around to the fact that McDaniel, because, well, what, Sager, before you go, I want to ask you this question because you were saying not last Friday, but I think you flipped now. You're saying McDaniel is a decent head coach. You think you showed tonight that he completely got outclassed by LaFleur, like completely. They're not even in the same stratosphere as head coaches. Not even the same stratosphere.
oh yeah. I broke my opinion on McDaniel tonight. It was rough. It was like the whole play calling on the drive before they turned it over to the Packers in the first half, right before it ended. The play calling was just very questionable. And then you add in the fact that Tua is trying to rifle in the ball too hot and try. That's the other thing. Getting the players prepared, as we talked about before. Tua needs to get used to throwing the ball when it gets colder with the weight. So he's trying to strengthen more, which makes it sail over the head. So that's part of the stuff we were talking about before, and it falls back on McDaniel. My opinion changed because tonight, this is the second time that LaFleur and McDaniel has met up, and LaFleur is 2-0 versus McDaniel, and it's always coming down to gaffes that McDaniel's making in these games. So it's hard to go against him because I like his creativity, but he needs to do what Flores did. Like someone said earlier, can't remember who, go back and be a coordinator. Go back and be an offensive coordinator. Focus on what you're good at. That's it.
I will say too, very quick, and no, I wasn't talking about Dion, but if the Dolphins were screwing up, right? If a player screwed up and do a damn thing, is Dion going to be sitting there going, "It's okay, pal, I'm patting him on the back," or you think Dion's getting in his face?
I love
you know what I'm saying? That's one thing. I'll just point that out.
I have a question for Bobby and Evan.
Okay.
If we would have hired Rex Ryan as defensive coordinator, would our defense still be soft?
No.
Hmm.
We need a physical like that's what I'm saying. Mike McDaniel would be great. Brian Flores, but virtually that's what they wanted. Didn't they want to sort of have Mike McDaniel as a offensive coordinator? Brett said that as the offensive coordinator with Brian Flores.
Yes, they the year before McDaniel was hired as head coach.
That'd be a good combo.
He was blocked from interviewing. He wanted to interview Mike McDaniel, and he was blocked from interviewing him as offensive coordinator.
By the way, I just want to note, and this is giving me such pleasure because it's so nice to be with him again. I love Dahl. I love Greg. I love you. But the fact that the reason why Dave Stager on Thanksgiving doesn't seem so excited that this Packers won is because he's agreeing with me on almost everything. You know how hard that is?
No, I'm not a person to come out and gloat.
By the way, you're the creator of me. You have to remember, you created this monster.
That's why I have to come see my son every once in a while.
But
how many daddies you got, man?
No. But Stager's my real dad.
It's more than that.
Wow.
But all to say, really, there's like you said, there's no when you walk into Miami, you're not afraid to face them. There's no one there that scares you. There's no one that's gonna punch you in the mouth. Sealer's a great player. Ramsey's a great player, but there's no one who's literally going to go, like, we don't have a Van Ness on our team. We don't have someone who's going to literally. Did you happen to notice, guys, today, every time a Packer defender got up to they'd smack him in the face? Did you notice that? Or they'd step on him? Did you see anyone on the Dolphins getting upset? No, they just let him step on. The
offensive line should have been on them, throwing them over.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Their offensive line doesn't give a shit.
No.
Oh, Teron Armstead needs to retire. That dude is washed.
Like he had a bad game.
Worst game of his career. Worst game of his
time.
That
was horrible.
You guys, you're more worried about the offensive line than they are.
That's right. That's true. You know,
that was everyone's like, he's a 12-year veteran. No, he's playing like a 3-week-old freaking baby on the field because that's all he's doing. He's crawling.
Next year we're just gonna get they're just going to get a life-size version of him and prop it up still. And then they're going to tell us that we're running it back and don't worry about it, guys. So how does that
I do have a question for all Dolphins fans here. And this is me gloating a little bit. I usually don't do this, and Bobby knows that. Evan knows that. I'll go ahead and ask this. Has Jordan Love surpassed Tua in value from where they were drafted?
He did last year.
Okay. Because I saw some Dolphins fans still on social media saying that Jordan Love's still behind Tua.
Not even close.
And I was just curious.
No, because I think stats don't matter. I think wins matter. And what Jordan Love did in Dallas last year, Tua hasn't even come close to doing. Right? And he was this smidgen away from doing it in San Francisco, right? You were this close to doing it in San Francisco. Tua has never in his career, as a Miami Dolphin, done 1/10 of what Jordan Love has done in the last 12 months.
I do want to say something. We'll let Greg get in here and answer that question. Just talk about it very quick. But I do want to give a shout out to everyone who's tuning in right now. You're watching the Miami Dolphins post game show here on FTSN.
Appreciate you.
With Dave Stager, Finstanza, Dahl of Dahl's Diaries, Greg of Overtime, and of course Bobby Finstock here. Got 175 people watching. You got YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook. We appreciate you all tuning in right now. So go ahead, Greg, man. You got Dave Stager asking about Jordan Love over Tua. Do you think he surpassed him?
Yes. I don't think and part of the reason for that is that the Green Bay head coach doesn't have to worry about whether Love can do certain things. Okay. McDaniel with Tua has to worry about his limitations. And part of the cover 2 thing with Miami is McDaniel knows that Tua can't make certain throws to beat a cover 2. And that kind of hamstrings him, in my opinion. But Tua is going to be an effective NFL quarterback for a long time. All right. He's just not going to lead. I don't think he's capable of leading a team anywhere. And Jordan Love did something at the end of last year. All right. You saw it with Joe Burrow a couple of years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. Jordan Love did it to get Green Bay into the playoffs. He basically had a 5-6 game stretch at the end of the year where he played damn near flawless football. Okay. I don't think Tua's ever going to be capable of doing that. Not for that extended stretch at the end of the year to get Miami to where they need to be. And that's my biggest issue with Tua right now.
I will say, just full out, because I know people are going to say, "Oh, Tua wasn't the problem tonight." No, Tua wasn't the problem, but he definitely was not the solution.
I'm not saying he was the problem.
No. I know that is
the draft value where they were drafted and stuff like that.
But last year, Green Bay won games down the stretch because of Jordan Love. Would you agree with that, Dave?
Yes, I would.
All right. I have yet to see Tua do that down the stretch. Be the reason why they win games. Like I said, Joe Burrow did it the year they went to the Super Bowl. Their team was out of the playoffs with 3 weeks to go, and he put 2 weeks back to back that he threw for 900 yards and 8 touchdowns with no interceptions. All right, or 9 touchdowns. He was the reason why they won. They went to the playoffs and then eventually went to the Super Bowl. That's the difference. That elevates those other quarterbacks above Tua, in my opinion, because I don't see Tua being able to do that.
He could be a Jared Goff, in my opinion. If he has the perfect offense for him, he can be able to run that offense, a timing offense that fits him. Like McDaniel's offense isn't going to be that, but look what Jared Goff is with Ben Johnson right now. It's elevated him because it plays to his strengths, and I feel like Tua can definitely have that type of career. It wasn't taking a shot at him, but a lot of people drug Green Bay for years because they sat Love for 3 years, and then they finally got to see a glimpse of him last year, and now year 2 is gone. Well, now he's finally got the MCL healed. Thank God that he was wearing that brace and was throwing him off for so long. But anyways, I'm just I saw a lot of Dolphins people on social media still trying to put him up there, kind of even above Herbert and stuff like that, and I'm like, I didn't know how y'all felt.
Did you know? Did you see the comments this week, guys? And let go that people were comparing. Well, Tua's thrown more touchdowns in the last couple of weeks than Justin Herbert, and I go, the Herbert all season, and I go, who cares? Who cares? Look at the record. Yeah. And trust me, do you think Jim Harbaugh would have allowed this today? Are you kidding?
Oh, God, no.
On Harbaugh, they'd be strict.
God, no.
Also, I also remember, you know what I'm most disappointed in, Bobby? I thought Anthony Weaver, being a rough and tough defensive, would have a little more fire in his belly when his defenders don't do well. Where is the fire?
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Coach.
I don't think you're not wrong, but I will tell you. I think the reason why you don't see that is what you just finished with, is head coach. And yes, my son has no shits to give when it comes to McDaniel and Tua. He is full on get rid of them. You know, that's on him. That's him. That's my son watching the game. I don't influence it. I talk him through the game.
Hire him instead.
Wait, I talk him through, and could read this thing. Our son is 7 years old and he can read this thing. And I walk him through. I go, this is what they're doing. This is the screen. This is this is a shotgun. During the shotgun, I tell him through the Chicago thing earlier today. When I'm not even a Chicago fan, and I was pissed. What the hell are you doing? You have a timeout. Call timeout. You got 30
malpractice.
Seconds. I'm like, and the time runs out, and I go, this is why, Tristan, they're a bad football team, and that's why this coach will eventually get fired right here. Because of stuff like this. And of course, when he sees this game and he's seeing the 4th and down call and the 3rd and 1 call, and he's seeing it's just, that's why he comes out and he goes like, they suck. He sucks. Get rid of him. Trade him. That's what he does, and that's, hey, you know what?
What is I would like to know what Courtney's little Dolphin fan thinks of Mike McDaniel. Does he have an opinion?
He wants them all gone. Including Tua. He doesn't like Tua.
Okay.
That's my son.
And by the way, guys, I just want to make an important stat. Remember how to say warm people don't like to play in cold weather? Stager, do you remember a game last December when Tampa Bay came in and kicked your ass, and Baker Mayfield had a perfect passer rating and 4 touchdowns against your team?
Yes, sir.
Remember that?
I
don't want
remember.
to hear that Florida teams don't do well in cold weather. Because trust me, it was colder probably then than it was now.
My former co-host of the show, I used to do with Jimmy Smith, the former wide receiver. He was part of Jacksonville. He's gone up to Green Bay and won in Green Bay before as a Jacksonville team. Warm weather teams, this whole mindset of warm weather teams can't win in cold weather, it's BS. It's preparation by the head coach, and to be able to take these steps and make your team ready for the elements. That's all it is. It's not this whole they play in the 80-degree weather, they're going to be horrible in 15-degree weather. No, we had a cold Super Bowl on a decade ago, and those guys played just fine.
Greg, let me get your response to this question, and we'll start getting to the final thoughts and then getting going. But I'm sorry, DSG label did it, Evan? If you could find it.
Here
it is.
How do we overcome the deep safeties? How do we overcome the 2 deep safeties?
You overcome the deep safeties by hitting the deep outside thirds. All right. You have the 2 deep safeties basically in the middle of the field. You have the cornerbacks up. There's a hole behind the cornerbacks in front of the safeties, but you got to have arm strength to throw those routes. Okay, because you can't float the ball out there, because that gives the safety the time to make a play on the ball. All right. So the best way to do it, another way, is you isolate a safety too. You basically run a go or a fade up the sideline, and you run a skinny post right in front of the safety, and make them make a pick. All right, pick which one they're going to defend. But you got to be able to hit the deep guy on the outside, and you got to be able to basically hold the ball long enough for the safety to commit as well. And those are things that Tua can't do really well.
The first one you were talking about, that third, that Brady and Romo have called it when they're announcing, they call it the hole shot. They said if you could hit that whole shot before that safety gets down on you, he said they will fear you as a quarterback.
So my older brother coached.
They will fear you as a quarterback.
My older brother
can't play cover 2 against you.
Well, so my older brother coached my 11-year-old.
That's exactly right. And in McDaniel's offense with Tua, they can't take that shot.
Okay, go ahead, Courtney.
I was gonna say my older brother coached my 11-year-old's football team. Right, they're 11. He overcame the 2 deep safeties because he would go out and scout the 11-year-olds that we were opposing. I know it's crazy to think that you could be prepared going into a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he taught the 11-year-olds, Mike McDaniel, that they would run offensively. They would run trips, and they had special go routes ready. They also had a couple of runs ready. And so there is a group of 11-year-olds that know how, when they see 2 deep safety, what plays are going to be called and how they can counteract that. And, they call them trips, and my son's a receiver. So he was a Cam Go. And can you guess what it was? Oh, we're in there, Cam Go. So he knew, all right, it's his, and so I know that Mike McDaniel may be confused, but I'm available if he wants to have it.
I love it.
My 11-year-old can easily conference in and let him know because it wasn't super complicated. I mean, they made it, and we made it to the playoffs.
Right.
Could you go an entire conversation with him, though, but without bringing up X, though?
Xavier Howard is the best cornerback that the Miami Dolphins have had in the 2000s.
By the way, I miss Rashad. By the way, can we all agree, just quickly, Bobby, can we all agree right now, Greg, Dahl, that Javon Holland should be gone? Like, there's no chance he's getting 20
What did I tell you couple weeks ago? Remember we talked about top 10 players? Remember? And what did I say? Remember I said I'd take Devon, and no hating on him. I mean, he's not top 10 in this
anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I can get a W on here. I'll say check.
You always get a W. You're probably good stuff.
So,
yeah.
Just one quick thing to go back to what Dave said, that the whole shot, right? Basically with the 2 deep safeties. That's why the Tampa 2 was so successful for such a long time, is because the middle linebacker would take the deep third and it would allow the safeties to basically take away that whole shot. Okay. That was the whole point of the Tampa 2. All right.
That back when they had Tap and back in the day, you're talking?
Yeah, back in the day. All right.
Yeah, about Barber and that group, or you're talking?
Correct.
With John Lynch and
those guys. They were able to play their safeties out further to the sidelines because the middle linebacker was a stud who could cover the middle of the field. Brian Urlacher.
Derek Brooks was insane. Derek Brooks was the Hall of Famer for that exact reason.
Yeah, Brian Urlacher for the Bears did the same thing. Okay.
He was a former safety. That's why he had knowledge of both. Yeah.
He had knowledge of both. But that's what that does. But nobody's running that now.
Who ran the
Everybody knows how to beat this 2 deep safety, except McDaniel seems to be flummoxed by it, and Tua can't make a throw. I don't get it. So
before we wrap up, I just want to say too, Dave and I, it is Thursday, so Friday. Dave and I will be back on tomorrow with Russ Morgan for the check down. We'll be recapping again, just kind of follow up on these games here, and of course previewing the weekend games. So don't miss out on that. We'll be live at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But before we do, let's go ahead and go around here the table and just get our final thoughts on the game or the final thoughts on the day and how the season could play out. And I will say, because I see a lot of comments on here, because Evan and I we went through this the other day when after the Dolphins beating the Patriots, how it could play out, and we gave it a loss, right, Evan? And then there was a way that Miami, even at 8-8, if everything fell into place and all this whatnot, they could still get in. But here's the point, right? DeStayer brought it up from our conversation earlier this week. Even if it was I was saying, even if they lose this game, I want to see a fight from this football team. I want to see it close. I want to see it. Oh, it's coming down. Not the garbage time. Not the little at the final end thing there. And they didn't do that. So even if Miami, they go and they beat the Jets, right? And then they go ahead and they beat the Niners, or they lose against the Texans and whatever. Let's just say somehow, some way they get in, right? Evan, your point, right? This is the thing. If you can't beat the good teams and in the type of situations, what makes you think you're going to make any difference in the playoffs? You got to show up when it matters. And Miami hasn't done that, and they didn't do it today. So, yes, it is not technically wrong for those who are saying it that Miami could still do this, right? Tua saying we're not dead yet. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not dead yet in terms of playoffs. But what have you shown to say that when it's time, when it does get there, and as Evans brought up weeks before, you go against a Kansas City or a Buffalo or a whomever, Pittsburgh, that you're going to be able to show up and do something in that scenario, in that type of weather and situation, in that type of game against that type of team. You haven't shown it. Greg, I talked about this. Evan talked about this earlier this season, in the offseason, when we were getting into the season, that Miami was not a physical team. They're not going to be a physical team. They're a finesse team. And today showed that as well. And finesse teams, a lot of times can't do it when it matters in the playoffs. You got to be physical. And they do lack that thumper at running back that we've all called for, and most of us did before during the offseason. I've called it for 2-3 years, and people were calling me crazy, and and it's what it is. Miss Finn's in the house. Great to see you, Miss Finn's. Guys, go check her out and her channel. She was on earlier today. Happy Thanksgiving, Miss Finn's. Run it all back next year. Let's go Dolphins. Yeah, there you go.
No,
she's drinking. She's having fun. She's sarcasm, I'm pretty sure. But look, yeah, for those who are saying it, yeah, we'll give you that. I'll give you that. We're not done. But what makes you believe that even if Miami did, that they could do anything? The only thing that would happen in that case, and I know Evan for sure, he doesn't have to say it out loud, but I'll say it for him. That's a fear. If Miami makes the run and they get in, that's a guarantee McDaniel and Greer will come back. That will be the excuse.
Mm-hmm.
They will, with that,
they made the run. They deserve another chance.
That's exactly what it is. So I get that. So I know you, girl. Don't worry, Miss Fins. I got you. But anyway, so I'm going to go around the panel here very quick and get your guys' final thoughts, and then we'll roll on out for tonight. I appreciate you guys staying up late and coming on. And I just want to say to the four of you, especially here, and Miss Finn's, a extended part of the FTS family. I'm thankful for her and her support and friendship and all that on the channel. But just say to Greg and Dave, and Dave, I'm happy you're back. Courtney, I'm happy that you're back. It's so good to see you guys and to hear. I mean, God, I miss these takes. Courtney coming out firing, like, damn, girl, how dare you take that away from us for as long as you did, but God bless you and thank God you're back. So I just want to say I'm thankful for all four of you and everyone on FTSN, but you guys are here. So I want to say I'm completely, truly thankful for you guys. Got love for you guys. I hope you all know that. And so happy Thanksgiving, even though it's past that time now. But Greg, final thoughts, sir, before we wrap this up.
So Evan brought up a stat about being 1-11 against playoff teams and stuff like that, right? And my theme tonight has been they're just stupid. They play stupid football. Okay. All right. When you're talented and stupid, you can beat less talented teams who are just as stupid. Okay. That's why the Dolphins beat bad teams for the most part the last couple of years. All right. The other team just makes the same amount or as many more mistakes than what the Dolphins do. All right. That doesn't work when you play good teams. All right. When you play good teams, especially on the road, you got to be smarter. You got to be more disciplined. Okay. You can't keep making the same level of mistakes all the time and expect to beat good teams. And to me, 3 years in now under this McDaniel regime, they just don't get any better. They keep doing dumb stuff over and over and over again. And when they play a good team, it gets exposed like it's all the time, and that's why they don't beat good teams. And today we saw it again. 10 penalties on the road, you're not beating Green Bay. In Green Bay, that's an 8-3 team. You're just not. All right? Muffing a punt, you can't do that. That's my frustration level right now. and it's 3 years running, essentially. So
There you go. Stager.
Listen, I'm just gonna say it. Prestige worldwide, wide. No, do you want to get it because I'm wearing the sweatshirt? Anyone? Prestige worldwide.
Yeah, yes,
Step
yes, we got it.
Brothers?
Yes.
Okay,
No,
God,
You're good, my
Fucking-
man. We
Can
got
I-
it.
got a horrible crowd in here. Anyways, no,
Caw,
I'm gonna
caw.
end this.
I'm thankful
So,
for my boys Walker and Texas Ranger. That's my favorite. Ricky Bobby.
geez, of course, they play those. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. Anyways, Evan, damn it, you rabbit holing son of a bitch. All right, anyway, I think the Dolphins, what Greg said, I'm going
Love
to
you.
double tap on that. They have brought in the talent now. Jalen Ramsey. They brought in Odell Beckham. They brought in Calais Campbell. You have Tyreek Hill. You still can't get it done. Dahl talked about this earlier. All this talent. The coaching is clearly showing they're not getting it done. If you take another coach right now, do you really think Kyle Shanahan would pass up having the chance to have all that talent on this team right now? Hell no. Especially what's going on in San Francisco. So this is my thing is it's shown it's reared its ugly head. The coaching is a problem. And the famous Brett Legacy, my guy, burn it down with Chris Greer. He is the main problem to this. He brings in band-aids to sieve situations, and it's not going to fix itself. It's this whole thing of, well, maybe someone will just step up. No, you have to find the right pieces. Even if they're not premium positions, you need to fix it. Like, I get it. Interior guard on offensive line, not a premium position, but guess what? It freaking matters. Because if you don't give an average guard, you're getting your quarterback put on the butt the entire game. Dolphins, I just don't see them making a run to do this. Greg said, they play stupid. They're going to trip themselves up along the way in these games. They might put a couple together, but before or less, I feel like they might trip themselves up and put themselves out of the playoffs with another stupid decision. So that's my take on the Dolphins. But if you want to jump on the old train Dave's driving for the Packers this year, you're more than welcome to jump on voluntarily. Just for one of this.
That was Dave Stager, guys. We appreciate him. No, I'm just playing. Put him back. Talking at Packers.
Wow.
Courtney, final thoughts, girl.
I'd like to say it's nice to be back, and I missed you guys, and I'm very thankful for, even though we are a hot mess, the Dolphins community. I think that this past year has been my best and my worst, but I feel like a lot of you have been kind of my saving grace and support system. So I do appreciate all of you, and I'm glad to be back and spewing venom from my mouth once a week. Doll's Diaries is on Mondays at 8, and I'm usually much nicer. Much nicer on my own show than I am on anybody else's. But no, the Dolphins need to blow it up. I think if you're a Dolphins fan and you're talking playoffs, it's sad. Get a hobby. I am not watching these shows. Like, the rest of the season for me is a wash. We're not making the playoffs. This is not a team that I want in the playoffs. At this point, I'd rather get a better draft pick than go watch us go and lose in the first round if we potentially make it, which we're not. This team is not going to beat any of the top contenders. This team struggled to beat the Patriots by giving up points. I had a Vic Fangio flashback in the fourth quarter last week's game. I think you just have to blow it up. Greer has to go. And I think any more wins, honestly, is just going to maybe have them stay. I don't want him to stay. I want them all gone. So I think the best thing to do is to just take a Xanax before your games and just realize that it's time to blow it up. This team is not what you want it to be. It's not where you thought it was going to be. It's not going to be. You cannot keep smashing your head into the wall and wonder when your headache's going away. We can't run it back. There's no running it back. We put Band-Aids. We have gaping wounds in our offensive line, in our secondary, in the D line. They were not fixed. Instead, what they did was they just put a pretty little bow on a different part of your body and said, look at this. Look at this bow. Don't look at that open, gaping wound. Look at this pretty little bow I put on your pinky toe. And that's what Chris Greer does. So I just think you need to just take it for what it is. We don't have the personnel in place. Despite the talent around us, we don't have the personnel in place. Odell Beckham should have retired 3 years ago. He's not going to be your Lord and Savior. Snoop Huntley was not your Lord and Savior when Tua was out. Tua's not your savior because this is not a team that Tua can lead. He's just not that. None of that is going to work. And the defense is just a hot mess rolled into a hot mess. Also, JPJ would have been a great guard for us to have, a great center for us to have, a great plug. But did we go? Offensive line, we went Chop Robinson. Can somebody explain to me what Chop Robinson has done tonight? He is very inconsistent. Is he getting better? Yes, but he doesn't show up in the big games that we need him to. He for sure bullied the Patriots and bullies. He's the Dolphin. He actually is a great Dolphin because he's bullying the bad teams. And then he's not anywhere to be seen for the good teams. Chop Robinson, congratulations. You actually are a Dolphin. But I would like a team that was consistent week in and week out. And all three factors worked. And that's just my take. And it's just until something changes, nothing's going to work. And I think we can talk ourselves into a hole all we want, but nothing's going to change. This team has shown you who it is, and we have to just accept that.
There you go.
I just hold on, Miss Doll. I love having you back so you can put Evan in his place. That made the entire show.
Me and Evan actually get along very well.
I know. We get along with Evan great. It's just he just likes to stoke that fire.
Yeah, that's why we get along well, is that I let him know that,
Bobby tells me to shut up on a regular basis.
That's
all good.
Evan could give it as much as he could take it. Trust me. Yeah.
Although the fact that Brett Lagasse sent me the most beautiful love letter by text this morning, grateful to have him be around. Okay. Remember, this is the same guy. This is the same guy where the first time him and I spoke was to duel over Tua. Remember that, Bobby?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. So think about this, guys. You look at the AFC East. Everyone was so concerned about Sean McDermott, a defensive-minded guy with a star quarterback. What have they been doing for the last 5 years? Bill Belichick, for as long as he did it with Tom Brady, he focused on the defense, and you have a star quarterback on the offense. When Brian Flores was here, there was obviously issues, but if you look at it right now, I'll tell you this now, if Brian Flores would have had his say on the personnel and the quarterback he wanted, and he picked Jordan Love, and he had the defense, we'd be a top team in the AFC East right now. I'm calling that now. Mike McDaniel, the offensive thing is not working. It just doesn't work. And as much as we hate Vic Fangio, the guy has the number one defense in the NFL, no star players. The defense, I'll look at the injuries that the Bills have right now on their defense. They lost all these players, still a top defense. The team is fundamentally broken. When I joined this network, I was on the bandwagon. The bandwagon is never coming back. It's never coming back.
What happened to the bandwagon, Evan?
It literally broke down.
It
got canceled.
I think it was the first show I actually said.
We're working on a new show. We're already working on a new show.
Yes.
Okay, so for me right now, I'm proud to be with all the four of you today, with Brett earlier. I made a call last year and I actually didn't follow it. I said at the end of last year, the way the season ended and the way Mike McDaniel coached football and the way the Tua was playing, that I was never going to pick them to win the entire last season. Then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened to me, but I became a little more positive at the beginning of the season. I go, I'll give it another shot. Shame on me. And today on pregame, it was really nice to be able to talk about the fact that everything that because I'm people who I know who watch these podcasts who didn't know also into how much I knew about football, really say, like, you're really astute about the fact that I'm not just being a homer. A lot of these people who are Tua-nons, I think Tua is a decent quarterback, but he's Derek Carr. He would do the same thing if he went into New Orleans. Like, if you put him in Minnesota, he's a complimentary player. He ain't winning nothing for you. He's never, in the 3.5, 5 years he's been here, ever truly won us an important game when it matters. And this is the time of the year where we were supposed to overtake Buffalo last year, this year. Tua's a nice guy, but he's not going to win you anything unless you bring in a quarterback, an offensive guru who's an offensive play caller, who focuses on it, who's not the head coach. And look at it. Look at McCarthy. McCarthy looked like he was looking at a diner menu today with Cooper Rush. Like these offensive-minded guys who are staring at their play call sheet doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work. Name me a team that has Andy Reid does it, but Andy Reid's been doing it for so long. But look at the people he's assembled around him. Steve Spagnuolo, but he also has a star quarterback. He didn't start winning until he had a true star quarterback. Though, in the end, for me, the Miami Dolphins, honestly, it sounds as awful as it sounds. I'll say it on this network, and I will say it proud. I don't want them to win one more game this season. I don't want them to win. Because if they any sign of positivity with this team gives Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer an excuse to plead to Stephen Ross for them to keep their jobs. And something has to give. Because at one point, Bobby, and Greg and Dahl, they're going to turn. The fan base is going to turn. You don't treat the fans properly the way when they come to games. You have fans traveling all over to go see them. The Dolphins fans actually travel. And you're telling us that you went out and got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Ramsey, Tua, Calais Campbell, all these guys. You didn't keep Van Ginkel. You didn't keep Wilkins. You didn't keep Wilkins because you said you guys can overcome this. I look back on this now, and if I had to do, I remember how happy I was the day we got Tyreek Hill. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have done the trade. I have buyer's remorse because what has he done what has he truly shown to us? Every big game, you look back on it, go look at all his big games in Kansas City. It wasn't him. It was Patrick Mahomes, or it was Alex Smith, or it was Travis Kelce. It wasn't only him. He was a complimentary player. He has stats, but he was never the dominant force that people really think he is. And if you look at the way that the Packers played today, it was all complimentary. You saw Watson, you saw Reed, you saw Wilkes, you saw Jacobs, you saw Brooks. You saw what's your other running back who came out of nowhere? He had the one who got the 1 yard line. Watson?
No, Wilson.
Wilson. There was complimentary. The Miami Dolphins have complimentary nothing. And unfortunately, Mike McDaniel is the cornerstone of this problem because Chris Greer needs to go no matter what. But Mike McDaniel, like you said, represents his own team. That's who no matter what Jalen Ramsey says, no matter what Calais Campbell says, Zach Sealer says, this whole thing falls on Mike McDaniel because you're an extension of your coach. Remember, Will Levis last year, the game that broke all of our hearts last year, that Dahl still talks about, is the Tennessee game. Why did they win that football game? Mike frickin' Vrabel. That he put the fear of Will Levis. He kicked his ass on the sideline. There's a reason why Ryan Callahan, is kicking the crap out of Will Levis, and that's why he went to Houston and won that divisional game. Miami Dolphins could have written a lot of wrongs tonight, and Mike McDaniel basically said, I'm going to put a 6th-round pick, not Raheem Mostert, not Tyreek Hill, not a good player. They're going to put a 6th-round pick wide receiver who's never caught a ball in cold weather before, in the corner in the wind. I'm going to put him at wide receiver and give him about more. Do you know Malik Washington had more targets than Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill today? Do you understand Malik Washington had more targets than Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill? That is insane. That does not make any sense, any rhyme or reason. The Miami Dolphins are, like I said, back in the day before they started winning with Tua, could have lost every football game. The only time they dominated truly one football game was last week, and they almost let them back in the game because and Skylar Thompson couldn't last 35 seconds. And Bobby, I always remind you of this. October 15, 2023, you and I were at a football game. They brought in Mike White. We knew he was about to throw that pick 6. What did they do? Because it became a 3-score game. Let's put Tua back in. This is what Mike McDaniel does. Mike McDaniel cannot develop talent. He can't manage talent. He's a guy thinks he's playing Madden and is trying to survive every football game. He's not a good game manager. He doesn't know what time it is. He doesn't know what clock it. He just doesn't figure it out. And unfortunately, nice guys do finish last. And unfortunately, Brian Flores was an a-hole, but so was Bill Belichick, and so was Mike Vrabel, and Matt LaFleur has that in him. And there's a reason why Kyle Shanahan has not won a Super Bowl yet, because he's not. But his father was an asshole. Kyle Shanahan is a nice guy, and you're not going to name me the last nice guy.
I've heard different, buddy. I don't know. I've heard
What?
from a lot of 49ers fans he has a bad rap.
He has a bad rap, but he doesn't come off like it. He doesn't get angry. You don't see him losing it. He wears his flat hat like I do, and he stares at his play call sheet. You never see him lose it the way that the way LaFleur did today. That really impressed me with LaFleur today. All I'm going to say right now is that the Dolphins right now are by far the laughing stock of any franchise. There's no team in the NFL because the Jets right now
The
have already
Bears.
blown it up.
The Giants?
No. The Giants are blowing it up.
They should.
They are going to. Obviously, they got rid of Daniel Jones. You know that Rodgers is gone, and they got rid of everybody in New York.
New York, yeah.
Carolina, at least Bryce Young is trying to show some sense, and they're having a first-year head coach, and they're really in a development. We know right now with Jacksonville that Peterson is going to be gone. They're going to go after Belichick very hard. The only team that continues to be mediocre, and we know they're going to continue to be mediocre, is the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins right now are the most dysfunctional franchise because there's no sense, no matter how much we want it, that anything is about to happen. Anything is about to happen. There's that sense that this is going to be the same old crap. And as I always remind people, it doesn't matter what the Jets have been in an NFC championship in the last decade or two, last 15 years. Miami Dolphins haven't been to a playoff game. I was watching today to make myself feel better. I was watching Jay Fiedler and Christian against the Cowboys in 2003.
Yep.
That's what I was watching at halftime. I go, let me have the memory of joy of Chris Chambers catching three touchdowns and with Jay Fiedler bombing the ball. Like, can we have a little bit? And by the way, I'm going to tell you this now, Rob Bobby. You're insulting Chad Pennington if you put two in the same conversation as him.
Come on,
Chad Pennington is better than Tua Tagovailoa. He's done more than Tua Tagovailoa. All right. So all I'm going to say right now to everybody.
You said that 4 times. All I'm going to say right now. Jesus.
Is that doll is beautiful.
Your final thoughts.
Doll is gorgeous.
45 minutes later, we're still going here at 2 in the morning.
Shut up, you moron.
You shut up. Jesus, how long are you going to go? Holy crap. All I'm going to say is 20 minutes later. All I'm going to say is.
But that's Finstanza. That's what we do. Doll, you're beautiful and wonderful. Greg, thank you for being my mentor. Stager, thank you for agreeing with me. It's a pleasure to have you back on the network. And Bobby, you're still a prick, but I love Tristan and Tati because now they're on the Finstanza's bandwagon. So that's what I love.
Yeah. You're done. Okay, good.
I'm done.
Praise the Lord.
All
right. So, sorry, guys. You got to kind of cut him. You got to get him. I thought he was doing it. He kept going. He goes,
someone spray him with water or something.
Calm down. Just calm down. No. All right. Listen. Appreciate everybody watching. I think everybody's right on the money. I think it's a foundational issue with the Dolphins. Tua is not the problem with this team. He's definitely not the solution. He's not the problem. You could change out the quarterback. You're still going to have an issue at head coach. You can still have an issue with the general manager. It's a foundational issue. It won't matter who the quarterback is if those two guys are still standing there. So anyway, that's where it stands. I mean, it is what it is, guys. Can be as positive as we want to be. Dolphins are 5-7 on the season after freezing up and not being able to kill the narrative today at Green Bay, and another deeper hole to crawl out of. And I don't think they're going to crawl out of it. It's just what it is. It's reality of it. Until then, catch me tomorrow with Stager and Russ Morgan on the check down. We'll talk all the NFL games plus this one. You could catch Doll on Monday, 8:00 for Doll's Diaries, a new episode there. And until then, like, subscribe, and I know it's going to be tough to say it or to believe it. Fins up, Miami.